Welcome to the Performance Portfolio Podcast with Coop and Coop. Greg Cooper and Cooper Allen bridge the gap between performance and finance to help you build a stronger life and a more resilient future. Let's get into today's episode.
Coop, June is Men's Mental Health Month. It's the 25th today, so we're nearing the end of it. And uh, I think it's a very important month because I'm going to not compare, but this might ruffle some feathers right at the start. There's lots of groups in the world, and everybody needs to be proud of whatever group they put themselves into from any side, whether it's political, whether it's a personal feeling, whether it's an identity, whatever. But of all of the groups, men are definitely one of them that get the least attention until something bad happens. And when we were younger, there was no talk about mental health. We didn't know people that had committed suicide as much as we do today. Not that it didn't happen, but now you hear about it every other day. Or, some people, for uh, whatever reason the universe decided that's how it is, they're going to have a lot of people in their life that do. And a lot of them are men. So this month, I'm very proud and always am proud to be a man and to be a part of MenTELL. I'm an ambassador for MenTELL. It's an amazing movement that my friend Zach started. Zach is one of the greatest leaders I know, one of the greatest men I know. And because we are pre-recording this, as of June 15th, we have reached 606,000 men. Our goal this month is 1 million. So when we drop this, I'm sure we will be at that number or very close to it or above that number. So it has been really awesome this month to see so many men band together, seeing tons of posts, seeing lots of support, and it needs to get talked to about more than just 1 month. And I know the momentum that's been built this month through that initiative and all the other initiatives will last beyond that. But it's something that we need to talk more about. And it's something very important to me as a coach, as a man, as a friend, as a brother, as a son. So yeah, it's just awesome to see the momentum that was built this month.
Yeah, I love what you guys have been doing. And obviously I haven't been as vocal online as what you have. And we'll touch a little bit on some of the initiatives that you've taken online, why that stuff's important to you, and what you hope people like myself and others will contribute to the movement. I want to throw out a couple disclaimers before we talk about this for the next 20-25 minutes or so. Is pro men does not mean anti-women. So if you're hearing this, this is not and the danger sometimes when you talk about men's retreats and men's events and men's seminars is there's some people for whatever reason think let's go get crazy drunk and complain about our wives or talk about how stupid women are or talk about whatever. And it's like that's probably 10% of overall men's type of activities, not the 90%. Uh, if you've thought about that in that light before, does that make you a bad person? Not necessarily, but I would challenge your thinking. You can be pro something without being anti the other thing. You can be pro men and pro women. You can be pro humanity and want everybody to succeed. Why, on that note, is men's mental health important? At least through my lens, anyways. Is my whole life, as I've tried to be an ally to other communities, people of color, different uh, sexual orientations, different genders, etc., etc. All I've heard has been you couldn't possibly empathize because you've never been through it. You've had more privilege, you've had more XYZ, call it whatever you want. So I think when you talk about being pro men and pro women, there are times where both men and women need spaces to be with just men and just women. There are things that I will go through as a man, that Greg will go through as a man, that a woman cannot relate to, and vice versa. And both sexes just need to be okay with taking a step back and going, I, as a man, don't need to solve all of women's problems. My wife, as a woman, does not need to solve all of men's problems because there are nuances within each of those problems and those challenges that are biological. And there are cases where when it comes to the performance of your investments, does it need to be a man or a woman? No. But are there other areas, specifically around mental health, where I could use chatting with a dude sometimes over my wife or over my mother? 1,000,000%. So I want to throw that out there to start, Greg, that pro men, us being pro men does not mean that we're anti women. Or it doesn't mean that we're trying to bring back the straight white man, ultra privilege, racist culture that exists. It's just, hey, we're dudes realizing that a lot of people are struggling out there, and we want to be able to help, and we also want to be able to help people that we can relate to and not be able to pretend to help people that we can't relate to.
Yeah, that's a great distinction you made. And it made me think a conversation I had with Zach this month. Um, Early in the month, he went, "Hey, so the campaign, it's not only going to be about this, I promise, but this is a piece of it. The campaign for MenTELL is Be a Flare. So we're sharing things that we would tell the younger version of ourselves and getting other men and then tagging two men and getting a bunch of our brothers to post and make a presence. Early in the month, Zach's like, man, bunch of women want to jump in. Heck yeah. And to the what we can and can relate with each other. Yeah, there's definitely a lot that women can't relate to as like being a man, and I can't relate to certain things about being a woman. Most things, frankly. But on the topic of mental health, women are so important in our lives. Like having good, strong women, good, empathetic women around us is important. Like the women that I've seen some share their posts, I know for a fact they've lost men in their lives to suicide and they had no idea, or they knew that they were getting closed off, quiet. But maybe if you're the quiet type to start with, they're hard to read. Or you're the happy, fun guy, everything's good, everything's bullshit, it's all good. They're really hard to read. And for me, the men in my life that I've lost to suicide are the big, happy, everything's good guys. I'm in the mental health world. I talk about this all day. It's part of my job as a coach, as a performance coach, as a mental health ambassador. It is still very hard to read unless you have those conversations. So, yeah, like having women around is important and having women involved in those groups, but it is important to have those own spaces too. And not that this is a super important point, but we kind of talked about it last week on the social media, liking content, supporting people. When these men's groups get like negative feedback, for the people giving that negative feedback, have you ever looked at the nature of what that group is? Because most men in mental health groups are definitely not squeaky clean. They've been through a lot. Whether they put themselves through it or they've just been through it, 90% of them are sober because they've been on this, or maybe not 90, but a good portion of them have had, some drinking, some drug use, some whatever substance, whatever things that they used as crutches at some point in their life, regardless of what it is. So a lot of those groups are areas where they don't have to be, oh, why aren't you having a drink with me, bro? Oh, why aren't you having a smoke with me, bro? No, we're here. We're gonna have a great group. We're gonna have a chat. We're gonna do sports. We're gonna shoot our bows. We're gonna go golf. We're gonna whatever it is. We're just gonna talk. So yeah, there's definitely a negative point put towards, I'll call it space right, straight white men. It's it's pretty brutal what a lot of the picture gets painted as, but this month has showed me that again, looking at it from a completely objective view, when it's put in the forefront, there's a lot of support out there. So for every person watching this, it's not just about men or women. For every person watching, listening to this, put that stuff out there. Talk to your friends, talk to your family. If you're not there, 988, right? There's places that you can go to talk, but people are willing to listen and people are willing to be there. You just have to create the space for them to talk about that stuff. And this month, I've even compared to the last 2 years, we've had a lot of progress. But this month, I've been like really taken aback and like awestruck, and the messages I've gotten, the people I see posting that never post, that's not their jam, didn't no like no editing, like nothing. It's just them chatting. Guys sitting on the couch. They don't care. They're just getting the message out. Awesome. That is what this is about. Let's talk, men. Let's talk, ladies. Let's talk, boys. Let's talk, girls. This is great. So it's such an important topic. And yeah, there's too many nuances around it to be like, this is the way, this is the wrong way. But the progress is being made, the momentum's there.
If people are looking for hope, at least in humanity, maybe not specific to mental health, but one of the things I'm very optimistic about is it seems like the world is shifting the pendulum back into there's a period of time where everything had to be filtered and edited. Now we're shifting back to people posting raw, organic content. Two dudes hopping on Zoom, hitting record. That's it. No fancy backdrop, no let's add in this and that and the next. Just honest conversations. And I think that's important. And some of the posts, to your point, Greg, that I've seen when people talk about mental health is just, yeah, them pulling their phone out and hitting record and going, here's my honest thoughts. And if we can get back to that place in the world that got so filtered, people got so scared of cancel culture that they stopped saying how they felt. And that doesn't, cancel culture was meant for you to not be a dick. It was actually meant to help people's mental health. Like, hey, stop ostracizing certain people and just flat out bullying people for things out of their control. For the vast majority of people, not the radicals, but the vast majority of people who participate in cancel culture, that's the type of stuff that they're trying to fight against. Not the every other topic in your life, now you're scared to have an opinion. I don't want to share anything with anybody. And I think people have started to realize that they got so specific on you can say this and you can't say this and it has to look like this and it has to be buttered up like that. And they wanted to look a certain way instead of be a certain way. And I'm coming across a lot more individuals lately that they just don't care anymore. And not that they don't care about the world, they just are caring less about how the world perceives them. And they're leaning more towards you know what, I don't care if I look good, I'm just going to do good. I'm just going to be good. And I have a lot of time and a lot of respect for that. My second point, Greg, to what you're saying is if you've lost somebody, or you've got somebody, maybe you haven't lost them yet, but they're really struggling and you don't know how to help them. Or maybe you are the person that's struggling and maybe you feel like a burden to people around you. Do whatever you can to remove all the guilt. The battle that either you or the person that you know is going through is hard enough as it is. There does not need to be extra unnecessary guilt or shame or emotion attached to it, other than just this is an illness that we all need to fight together. So if you're one of my friends or acquaintances listening to this, that you're like, you know what, because of my mental health or because of my addiction or because of how I feel, I haven't reached out to Coop and Nat as much as I would have liked. I haven't been the best supporter of him and his family. I haven't been a great friend. Water under the bridge. Clearly, you're going through something. If all you did was, hey, look, I'm going through some stuff. I don't want to get into the weeds on it, but I acknowledge that maybe I haven't been the best person in terms of the potential of the person I know I can be. And I'm sorry about that. I want you to know that I care about you and I want to be better. I'm just stuck on how right now. That's very brave, very courageous, very vulnerable in my eyes. And I would appreciate if more people did that. And maybe not even to that degree. Just hey, for what it's worth, I'm just going through some stuff right now. And yeah, eventually maybe I'll come to you for some tips on how to be better as I go through stuff. Or the amount of times, Greg, I don't know if you get this, but the amount of times people say, man, you seem to have it all together. Yeah, seem. That's the filter we're talking about. So there's a lot of people out there that seem to have it all together that behind the scenes either don't or didn't and needed to create systems uh, to get things together. I I'm not perfect in every area of my life. There's things that I struggle with, and there's tools and habits and things I've implemented um, to help get better in certain areas. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can say the same. So the more we talk about this stuff, but talking about it from a place of not using it as a crutch, not thinking about it like an illness that the government has to pay for, that you can never possibly overcome, even though it is an illness. But if we think about it through the lens of how do I make the most of the situation, there might be a perspective out there that comes from an acquaintance or a coworker that may be more helpful than a close family member, even if we just encourage to continue the conversation. But I'd say the biggest thing is, yeah, just remove all the guilt. It's even if it's not okay, I think people can at least be understanding of it. And I don't want to say I don't want to say it's always okay and it's always water under the bridge because there's people who do really shitty things and then blame it on mental health to just avoid accountability, uh, which I don't think is okay. But I think there is something to be said for like the first step to not committing the same thing over and over again is acknowledging that it's a problem and letting the people who care about you know, hey, I'm going through some stuff. I got some stuff to figure out. I'm aware of this, and I don't know when it's going to get better or if it will ever get better, but I'm aware enough that I want to try. So that's that's some thoughts. And then the third thing, and I'm sure we'll touch on it, throughout the rest of the episode, but identifying the difference between playing hurt and playing injured. What does that look like in mental health? There's a big difference between mental health and mental illness. There's a lot of people. One of the things I've been impressed about, Greg, in terms of people sharing posts and supporting the movement and everything this month has been the amount of people who don't have a history of mental illness or an experience of losing a loved one that are participating in the conversation. I think that's very important that, hey, you don't, even if you've never had an experience with somebody taking their life, um, you have a lot of people around you that, and maybe none of your friends, and statistically this would be unlikely, but maybe none of your friends or family have an actual diagnosed mental illness and are going through stuff or thinking about taking their life. But every single one of them has mental health. And what I love about when you mentioned that the amount of women that are jumping on board with supporting this is it just makes perfect sense for humanity. If you were running humanity and society like a business, you'd go, okay, I want my employees to be better so the business overall is better. So when you look at society, if I'm a woman, I go, yeah, I want men's mental health to be phenomenal because the better their mental health, the better contributors they're going to be in the community, the more of a village I'm going to have, the better allies they're going to be for women's movements, the more money is going to flow through the economy, the less domestic abuse is going to happen, the less tragedy that females are going to have to go through losing a cousin or a brother or a dad or whoever. So there's upside all around. So even though we're just specifically talking about men's mental health right now, it benefits everybody. So those are some of my out loud thoughts on the first couple of things you said there.
Yeah, I'm gonna just touch on this quick because I'm gonna kind of flip the script a little bit here. But right, that's the important distinction between mental illness and mental health issue, or just mental health. Mental illness is a diagnosed thing, bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, things like this, right? They're serious. I'm not saying medication is the answer. More often than not, there's other ways that you can manage it. Sometimes medication is necessary. There's options. Those are different. And it does not make you incapable. It does not make you less. Some of the most successful people I know have very serious. PTSD, another one. I have to mention that too, right? These are things that oh my God, I have to a bubble wrap. No, some of the most successful, most incredible people I know have those. It doesn't make them less because they've managed it and they've worked on it. And the same, or it can be worse when it's just mental. Shouldn't say it. Sorry, it shouldn't. Not just mental health, but when it's not a diagnosis, when it's you're going through trauma, grief, loss, all of these things, self-deprecation, right? Like all of this stuff that people deal with daily. That's okay too, but it's taking a second, understanding what is causing us those feelings, what's causing us those real that darkness in the back or in the right in front of us, and finding the solution that works for you. Whether it's diagnosed, whether it's mental health diagnosis, or it's a mental health issue that you're dealing with in the moment or for a long duration of time, it does not make you less. It does not make you a bad person, a weak person. It just makes you human. Right. And if you do think or feel or know that you have a mental health um, illness, if you had something that was bothering you that, let's say, let's go on the far end of the spectrum, you had a growth and you thought it maybe could be cancer, you're not going to wait. You're going to go get that checked. And that doesn't make you less. People talk about survivors or people battling cancer like they're heroes. Look at Lance Armstrong. The man went through a lot with his cancer and he won 7 Tour de France's. Now, he's been vilified by some people for other reasons. Whatever side you agree on there. But people, oh my God, he's a hero. And look at all the good he did. That doesn't always happen for the people that have mental health illness, but it should. It's really not that different because it can feel like, and people use that term, it feels like it's a cancer in me, but it's not. It is just you being a human. So anyway, I don't want to go down too much of that rabbit hole because I am not a mental health illness expert. I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a mental health ambassador, but I just wanted to make that distinction. And to your other point, a lot of the time, and I talked about Zach, and even like at the start of this podcast for the last 15 minutes, it's kind of maybe felt somber. It's kind of maybe felt very empathetic. Men's mental health month, mental health, men's mental health, women's mental health in general can be a really fun and good thing as well. Because we see people come together regardless of where we're from, the street we were born on, the color of our skin, the orientation of anything in our lives, on how we identify, on what political beliefs we have. And we can just be humans to each other and celebrate each other. Oh man, I loved your post because you did it while you were on a mountain hiking. That's so cool. I wish I lived in the mountains. That's amazing. Oh man, you live on the beach? Like seeing these people take these videos out in the wild. It's like, what? This person's out on the beach and they're in Tahiti right now. That's so awesome. And celebrate what we do in life, what we do with the people around us. Like it can be, and it should be something celebrated and something enjoyed because it's not always doom and gloom and it shouldn't be, even when it is, something more serious, right? There's
Yeah, well,
always
you can
positive
find
things we can
something.
find.
Yeah, 100%, Greg. That's the thing is you can find something if you want to be a victim, no matter how great your life is going, you can find something that makes you a victim. If you don't want to be a victim, no matter how crappy your life is going, you can find something to be grateful for. And I get that if you looked at the outside of my life, that it might be easy to say, yeah, but you just don't get it. You've never been through what I've been through. Yeah, you're right. I might not get it. If you've got cancer, I've never had it. Knock on wood, hopefully never will. So yeah, I don't get it. I've never been in a wheelchair. There's things that I don't get. I've never grown up as a person of color. I've never been a woman. There's a lot of things that I don't get. But somebody else did. Somebody else gets it. and there's somebody else going through the same thing through a gratitude lens instead of a victim lens. And I know that because I've shared this on a previous episode before. Our company conventions have an entire hearing impaired section of the convention where the speakers, there's sign language going to those individuals. And a lot of those individuals are having the same level of success as the other people in the audience. There's somebody making six figures in our company that physically cannot get out of bed for more than 30 minutes a day because of an illness that she's going through. So yeah, I get that maybe me saying it is privilege, but study other people then. Study people who go through real hard shit and go, why is your perspective still positive on this? Why are you not being a victim? The person that I know that's been through the most amount of hardship in their life, she had said to me, she's like, if I'm going to tell you about even a tenth of what we've been through, she's like, I have no problem opening up. Just please don't treat me like a victim. That was how she prefaced opening up to me. Amazing, in my opinion. And I'm curious to see, Greg, and you're more involved in the space, the advocacy space than I am around this stuff. So I'm curious to see whether you think this analogy is helpful or insensitive. But the way I look at the mental health, mental illness thing, mental illness to me is, okay, my arm is chopped off. I'm never going to be able to use it again. It's gone. I don't have that muscle because I'm mentally ill. If I have mental health, to me, it's my arm's broken. I can do physio, I can repair it. It's going to recover. There's just for a period of time, it's broken. I can't use it to the extent that I could use it to, but I still have it. And sometimes when it comes to mental health, some people break their own arm. It's not life that happened. Uh, it wasn't something really crap. There's sometimes really crappy things happen and it puts you down in the dumps and your arm's now broken and you got to repair it. But there's other times where it's just, why are you breaking your arm? You just fell over intentionally and snapped your arm because you want to be a victim, because you haven't developed the skills to look at life through a positive lens. You just want to look at everything negatively. So is that like a completely insensitive analogy, or is that actually helpful for the listeners, you think?
I think it's a great analogy. I'm going to add to it though, because it is. It's a great way to frame it because it gives a good visual. And I could speak to this quite well. I've spent time working with adaptive athletes when I was in Saskatchewan working with wheelchair sports. So, I can really truly visualize this and pull some stories from there. So, mental illness is like, yeah, you got your arm amputated. You can never use the lower portion of your arm again. That piece is gone forever. On mental illness, it's regardless of what it is, it's not gone forever. It just changes. Yes, I can't use my actual hand, but then I'm going to learn how to use a prosthetic, how to learn the golf attachment, how to learn to use my daily attachment. Maybe if you're in the right space, depending on your situation, a robotic one now, right? You'll learn to adapt to your new reality. Individuals dealing with mental health illness, they learn to adapt to their new reality. They know at what point they have to stop and remove themselves from certain situations. They know what mechanisms they need to employ in their daily life to make sure that they can be them. And when they're not, that's okay. And individuals that have lost that arm, there's going to be moments where it's like, yeah, I need help. Like, I actually can't do this. But nobody is more resilient and more adaptable than somebody that has something taken away from them forever, specifically when we're talking about our body or our mind, than finding a way, but then also accepting that, yeah, there's going to be certain things that I need to reach out and help and ask for help. Versus mental health issues, yeah, a lot of the time you do see people, jump on that rake in front of them on their own free will or step out and break their own arm because they feel like they need a scapegoat. They feel like they need something to go, woe is me. And on the flip side of that, you break your arm. You deal with it. You have to go through the phases of healing. just like mental health issues. You have grief, you have turmoil, loss, rejection. And there's so many feelings that go into that. There's a healing process. There's a strengthening process, and then there's moving forward. Because when you break your arm, it's not healed, all good, it's perfect now. Because it might not be. If it's a severe break, you could have, a long lasting um, detriment to your function in your arm. Some trauma, some loss, some mental health issue will stick with you for the rest of your life. How you go through the process moving forward makes a big difference. So, yeah, it's hard healing anything, dealing with anything, moving forward from anything, adapting from anything. But the hard work, the uncomfortable conversations, the uncomfortable feelings are necessary because they will help you. It might hurt in the process, and more often than not, it is going to hurt and it's going to be scary, but it is necessary to move forward so you can be you and be human again and feel like you have moved on, or sorry, moved forward, because there's some things we'll never move on from. But you need to be cognizant of both of those things. But yeah, great analogy. But I would say, yeah, the one change would be, yeah, it's not gone forever. It's just changes, and you need to adapt, and you need to have like that renaissance moment of what's the new me, or what's me now.
Hmm. Awesome. Before we wrap, tell me a bit about because I feel like if we go niche and pick up a discussion point related to mental health now, this will be a 3 hour episode. There's a lot of topics. I don't want to do it a disservice by trying to bring it up in 5 minutes, something that probably is worth a full episode. Uh, so just to put a bow on summarizing Men's Mental Health Month, like you said, it's June 25th. Uh, as this episode gets released, if people want to keep in touch, whether it's to support during the month of June or just to continue the conversation throughout the rest of the year, maybe just plug MenTELL for a couple minutes, Craig, to close us off. Because I don't, even with how close you and I are, I don't know enough about it. I know the gist of it. I know what you guys are doing, but yeah, let our audience know what's up and what you guys do, why through your eyes it's important, and how people can support and get involved if they want to.
I appreciate that, Coop. So mentell.ca, MENTELL, was started by Zach, really, really close friend of mine. Great man, out of his own struggles and needing people to talk to. Zach will be 6 years sober this year in November, and in the times when he wasn't, he went through a lot. And I'm gonna leave it at that because that's not my story to share. But he started it not as has nothing, and it will never be a revenue generator or money maker. It is a movement. It's not even, we don't even call it a foundation. We're a movement. Creating a space primarily on social media because we can reach more men faster, for messages to be seen, men to be heard, give them a place to reach out to other like-minded men. We have a great list of ambassadors, and our ambassador list is not, we're not copy and paste. You go to the website, you click on that ambassador, there are veterans, there are business owners, there are coaches, there are people of color, there are ultra marathon runners, there are gay men, there are all sorts of men, because we're all just men, we're all human. We all have different worldviews, we all come from different places, we all have uh, different messages to give. And that's what it's about. It's not about, oh, if you're not with us, you're against us. It's about creating a space so there's access and support to resources that are super necessary. And over the last few years, we've created that space and continue. And there's always evolutions, and people are asking, when are we going to start having conferences or retreats or this? So it's shown that, men want to be there for each other, women want to be there for the men in their lives, and that it truly matters. And to be a part of that group is truly an honor, and I'm very grateful for it. But it's it's also unique, and I'm not saying that MenTELL is better than others. But if we look at the nonprofit world, a lot of it is high paid CEOs in a nonprofit organization. They're looking for vibrato, they're looking for that. That is not MenTELL. MenTELL is about the end user. And there have been people that have turned down working with us because they didn't see the benefit to them. To them, not to the men, not to the people that they're trying to help. Your organization's supposed to help those people. It says mental health in your organization name, and you're not gonna tag on with us or at least give us a like. And it's always been fronted to the men. It's always been fronted to helping uh, everybody out there, not ourselves. And like to the point where, we audit the ambassadors. If you're not actively in the community doing things, like, this is maybe for you then, because it can't be. It If it's for you, it needs to be because you want to be there to help, not because you want your name on a board. And we're very much on that, and it's known. And because of that, it's one of the main reasons, or one of the many reasons, that I love being involved with it. So this year, like I said, the campaigns Be a Flare. We were sharing things that we would tell the younger version of ourselves, tagging two brothers or five or 15 or 20, tagging the women in our lives and sharing the message. And we've seen messages from people all over, from all different worldviews, from all different ethnicities, from all different archetypes of whatever community you want to bundle them in. And it's been truly amazing to see that. So it'll continue to grow. It'll continue to evolve for what and who it's necessary to help. And yeah, so mentell.ca, on Instagram, it's MenTELL, TikTok, LinkedIn, but Instagram is where we're most active. And yeah, you can reach out and you can message them. You can go to the ambassador list, reach out to any of those men, myself included. Go to the follower list, see who made videos, follow them, like them, share them, start a conversation with them. Oh, that guy lives in the same city as me. I've never met him. I bet he'll go for a walk or a coffee with you, and you met a really cool person. And that is what MenTELL is about. And like I said, mental health, men's mental health doesn't always need to be doom and gloom, and it shouldn't. It should be a celebration. It should be happy when appropriate, when necessary, and it shouldn't be a thing of shame or weakness, because it's not. For me personally, when I started talking more and started opening up about the things that were bothering me, more of the men and women, specifically the women in my life, viewed me as even stronger, because now I'm okay with being vulnerable. Well, it's really hard being vulnerable. That shit is scary because of the picture that was painted from generations before, and even when we were younger. You got to be tough, you got to be rough, you got to not cry, you got to not show your emotion. At times, yeah, you need to be the sentry, you need to be the rock to lean on. But at times, in the right environment, when you need it, it's also okay to have a hug, to say I love you, bro, and to be there for one another. So yeah, amazing work that the team at MenTELL is doing, that Zach's doing. I can't say enough about him and what MenTELL does for people. So thanks for giving me that opportunity to plug that great group.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think if you're someone listening, or maybe you don't have a podcast of your own, or you're not actively uh, out there in the community, you don't have a ton of these types of conversations or opportunities per se to have these types of conversations. Uh, MenTELL would be an easy way for you to share your story, or share your opinion on something, or share your perspective. You get out there and yeah, just pull open your phone and start recording. What would you tell your younger self? What does men's mental health mean to you? There's a million and one ways that you could take it. And I'm sure if you tag them, you'd get a lot of support from people within that community. And truthfully, if I never made a dollar in the podcast world, it's not really what I'm doing it. for. There's a couple parts to it. There's one, if Greg and I getting on here every so often and chopping it up can help one person shift their perspective on something and it makes them happier or healthier in their life or pushes them towards a lens of community service or high performance, that's a win. If none of that ever gets accomplished, um, that's unfortunate. But for me, if zero people ever listen to this or were impacted by this, a lot of it's for my own mental health to get on here and talk about the man I'm hoping to be and the way I wish the world worked and the community that I'm striving to build. And the more we get to talk about where we're going, where we're heading, what we want things to look like, the easier it is to get back into our day to day and fulfill a vision of exactly what that can be. So, um, yeah, there's never, whether it's a formal podcast or just a conversation like this with a buddy that's not being recorded. I think these types of conversations are super important to set out, hey, maybe this isn't who I am today. Maybe this isn't what the world looks like today. But here's the type of community I want to create around me and the person I want to become as I'm building it. So that's super important, and I appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Appreciate you, Coop. And yeah, I just like to echo that. Like, honestly, all the things you said, I'm like, I come on here, every week with you to change my perspective and to learn something and to have fun, right? Like, whatever you're doing, you're not going to have fun doing everything you're doing, especially, if the job you do primarily to make money is just that. Have fun elsewhere. Play rec sports, play your sports, go to the gym, golf, go for coffee walks, crochet, whatever that is for you. Make sure you have fun because regardless if you hopefully never have to deal with severe mental illness or severe mental health issues, no one gets out of this game alive. So have fun. We only have a finite amount of days, and tomorrow is never promised. So enjoy the time you have with the people around you. And if you don't have people around you, they're there. You just need to look. There's groups, MenTELL, community groups, run clubs, whatever your thing is. There's people out there for you. So have fun and happy Men's Mental Health Month. See you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in this week. If you found value in today's episode, like, subscribe, and share with someone in your circle so they too can build a stronger life and a more resilient future.